G'day, it's Jane from Thread My Bobbin, and today I've got a bit more information about Dear Jane, the video I put out last week. I've got a finish for you, Grandma's Kitchen. I'm going to introduce you to our new fur baby, and then I'm going to show you how I did the top of the playmat that I showed in a previous video. So hi and welcome, and especially welcome to all the new subscribers I got from last week's video on my preparation for Dear Jane. It was just wonderful to see such a response and to see so many people interested in making the quilt. I'm excited for next year, and I'm excited that lots of people are going to be, sewing along. I think it's going to be great to have different YouTubers making videos about what they're doing. We all use different techniques, and everyone can help each other out and encourage them. There's some great wisdom in the comments, lots of really great comments. So if you haven't read them, maybe pop back and have a look. And thank you. And also the new subscribers, you bumped me over the 1,000 subscriber mark. So I really appreciate that as well. Before I move on to the other things, about the Dear Jane project, I'll be making one more video about preparing for that before Christmas. My color scheme, what my plans are for the blocks that I'm going to make in the videos, so people know what I'm going to do on this channel. All right, I've been working on Grandma's Kitchen, and I've got it finished. So it's all bound, it's all quilted, and it's ready to go on the bed. I'll show you some of the blocks. And this was a Pat Sloan quilt, and I'm a fan of Pat's quilts, and I especially like samplers. And so my quilting is very simple. I quilt on my Janome domestic machine, just using a walking foot. And on this quilt, like a lot of my quilts, each block's quilted just individually, what I felt at the time. So I did a lot of kind of crisscross. Now, because it's a bit difficult to show the whole quilt in here, I'm going to take you outside and you can see what the finished quilt looks like. So let's go outside. It's been quite windy here today, so I tried to unroll it off the balcony and that didn't work. So I brought it out here to the backyard. That's as high as I can get the clothesline. But I'm really pleased with how it turned out. I love Pat Sloan's patterns. And I just added in these little squares to, build it out to the right size. I did initially put this top together differently, and I didn't like it, so I unpicked it all and did it again. Oops, here comes the wind. So yeah. So that's Grandma's Kitchen, and this is Poppy, my latest little sewing buddy. And she's about 8 weeks old, and we didn't actually plan on getting a kitten last week, but as the Cat Distribution Society works, we ended up with a kitten, and she's just gorgeous, aren't she? She's loving the sewing room and the sewing machine. I actually put Grandma's Kitchen on the bed earlier today, and I had to take it off because she just wanted to play in it and wrestle with it. And I guess blue and yellow, I think, are the colours that cats can see. So, yeah. Anyway, so this is Poppy, my new little sewing mate. Our other dear old cat, Lily, who was 22, passed away a few months ago. And, the house just isn't the same if you're a cat person when you don't have a cat. And the time was just right. So she will probably be around and probably be in some videos. Now, I think I'll take her out because I want to show the next bit and she's going to be distracting. So I'll just pop her back out and then I'll come back and I'm going to show you how I made this playmat. So in a previous video I showed this playmat, and it was just waiting to have the binding put on it. And I've done that now. It wasn't on my original UFO list, but I kind of found it when I was doing things, and all it needed was the binding. So it's been sitting in a bag for years, just waiting for that. So I finished that, and Colleen asked me if I could go through and explain how I made it and show the top a bit more. So I'm just going to do that now. Okay. This is just a poplin, so it's something very light. And then all I did was I have a whole batch. I don't have near as many kids' fabrics now as I used to. I don't do so much sewing, but just a whole batch of 5-inch squares of children's prints. Oh, it's gorgeous. So I've still got a few left. And then I would just, these are really cute, these animal ones. Anyway, I just cut the poplin into 9.5-inch squares. It can be any size. That just happens to be the size of a large square ruler that I have. And then I just put a 5-inch square in the middle. It doesn't matter if it's crooked. You know, you don't kind of need to worry about that. And then I just stitch it around onto the piece of poplin. Then I have like my scrap basket. And all I would do is go in. Actually, we'll find something. I tend to like bright colours, as you can tell. And just find a bit of, find a bit of scrap. I'm just going to cut a piece. So then you just place it so right sides together, so it's covering the edge. And I'm just going to stitch that down there. All right, so I've stitched that down there. I'm just going to chop a bit off here. And there's no rules with this kind of sewing, you know, just do whatever looks right to you. Put that there. And I'm going to find another piece of something bright. Actually, that pink might be all right. So I've got the pink. And I just play around with it and put it wherever I like it. So I'm going to put that one there. I also like this green. And I actually really love this kind of sewing. I find it really relaxing, and I don't know, it's just kind of like adult play, to be honest. You know, as adults, all too often we don't get as much chance to just play and be creative. All right, so we've sewn on a few more layers. And with this one, because it's kind of going to be in the middle, and I just leave a little area at the bottom and just turn that like that. All right, and I will sew over that in a minute. All I'm going to do now, I'm going to stitch that down there, and then I'm going to cut a few more bits of fabric to fill in the outside exactly the same way, just laying them down in any pattern that that I like. So now here's the next lot that I've attached, and you can see again here where I know that there's nothing going to go over it, I just fold this back, because in a minute I'm going to stitch that down. Okay, so I've just turned that edge under. I'll turn that, and I will stitch on top of those two to hold them down. And then over here I've put this one here, here, and there. And you can see I've got a tiny piece here. I'll just sew something across there to cover it. So I'll now go and just sew on the top of those ones that need turning under, and then we'll cut the block and it's done. Now we've got out more around the edges filled in. So that's our square. That's it on the back. And then all I'm going to do is trim it. And then we've got another square. And that's all I do. So I would probably now just stitch that one down there. And that looks a bit patchy, I know, but I just, oops, I haven't quite caught it. But I think the key to this is just to enjoy the process. So I would make as many of those as I want. So what I did on this mat was just join them together in a 9 patch, and then add a border. This particular batting was very thick. It was much kind of thicker than regular, like I usually use bamboo, but it was, yeah, quite springy and bouncy. I don't have any here to show you. So I then put the batting. I've got actually a thick flannelette on the back, and to join it, because it's going to be a kid's play mat, I actually used the curvy line on my Janome and went round the outside and through the center. And then what I do in terms of quilting is just go back over just next to some of these lines. I don't do all of them. I don't stitch in a ditch. I just stitch next to it. And yeah, that's it. That's what makes the play mat. So as you can see, there's another block. So that could be a block in there. You could use this style of using up your scraps for anything. It doesn't have to be children's things. So do like different shades of different colors would make beautiful quilts. So that's how you make the blocks. I hope that's helpful. There's a few more of the blocks. And it's literally just using up this scrap bin. And I talk about the way I organise my scraps in my scrap video. If you do want me to show you something anytime, just ask. And if I can do it, I'm happy to show you. I have a couple of things that people have asked for that I haven't made yet. I will get them done before Christmas. One is the disappearing 9-patch quilt, and the other is how to make the quilt top and not have to put a binding around it. So I will demonstrate those in the next few videos before Christmas. Between now and Christmas, I'm really focused on getting my UFOs done as much as I can. This is my list from my very first video, which was about all my UFOs. That's the list I made. I still have quite a few on them. So I'm really working much more than 15 minutes a day to do that. I'm also working on my embroidery that I talked about a few weeks ago. And blockheads, I have a few blocks of that to catch up on. Tell me what you're working on as you come up to Christmas. Do you start making Christmas things? Are you madly trying to finish up your projects? What's happening in your sewing room? Post on the community page, there's a poll there about where you're up to if you are interested in Dear Jane. It'd be great if you could go and fill that in. Gives us a bit of an idea of what stages we're all up to. All right, have a great week. I'll see you next week. Bye.